You're listening to the Back Porch Talk podcast. Danny and Jason had many discussions and debates on the back porch while making pivotal investment moves with assets. That's right, with trading cards. They welcome you to the back porch and right into those discussions about current sports news with a fresh and unique twist. So come on and join us. Welcome to the Back Porch Talk podcast. I'm your coach, Jason.
Coach, Danny.
Fans, we got a full show for you today. The NBA playoffs is fantastic. A little Formula One, but Danny right into the NBA where 2 Game 7s on Sunday. Boy, can't get no better. Pacers against the Knicks, and where the Pacers actually prevailed 130 to 109. I think the Knicks just ran out of steam, and quite frankly, they ran out of bodies. Let me just say the Pacers were hot in the first half. And especially Halliburton, he was just hitting from everywhere. And it just continued on for the rest of the game. Just when you thought the Knicks were going to make a run, the Pacers goes ahead and cuts it short. And so 130 to 109, Pacers advanced against the Celtics. And Danny, this is going to be a better matchup. Because the New York Knicks, I mean, they have just lost so many bodies, man. They are totally decimated by injuries. And so this was the right move the move in terms of the Pacers advancing. And it just makes better sense and makes for a more competitive conference finals game. What say you, Danny, about the Pacers against the Knicks?
Halliburton, man, he was on one yesterday. He was on fire. And yeah, the Pacers, they've had a couple mishaps in this series in the fourth quarter. So it's one of those where you had to kind of watch it all the way through to make sure they sealed the deal, and which they did. Congratulations to the Knicks, man. For them on their season, all the injuries, and for them to get this far, I just think all that they overcame, and it was Brunson's coming out party. And with Julius Randle being hurt, this gave him an opportunity to actually show what kind of player he was and what they need to support him going forward, like surrounding pieces. I think the Villanova connection is definitely something they need to keep intact with Josh Hart and DiVincenzo.
They got to keep it, man.
But now with Julius Randle and some of the other pieces, how do they mix and match to make sure they have the right fit for next year? And also considering Tibbs, because Tibbs is he's a wild card as well. But this may be the opportunity for them to build some bench depth, because you know that comes up with Tibbs. You brought it up multiple times with him, and see how they pivot so they don't run out of gas. And like I said, and bodies going into this part of the season. So congratulations to them, but also congratulations to the Pacers. Looking forward to them and seeing how they do against the Celtics.
Danny, let me ask you this question here with regards to the New York Knicks. Do you think, and especially Coach Tibbs here, do you think with the number of bodies that has gone down, was that a Tibbs thing, or was it just one of those just injury bugs?
I think in the playoffs, I think that was part of Tibbs. Because all the minutes he plays all this, his rotation, 1 or 2 max. But during the season, some of that stuff is just bad luck.
Yeah.
So I characterize it in the 2 regular season versus playoffs. And he needed to go deeper in that bench. And he didn't. And who's to say? You never know. It could be just us, speculating that way that, Tibbs is the cause, but it just panned out that way. That's how they ended up.
And just to compare here, when you look at the Pacers bench, I mean, you have the likes of Toppin, who played 15 minutes. You have Jackson, who played 10 minutes. But then you have McConnell, who played 24 minutes. You have Shepard, who played 25 minutes. Right there, that's 3-4 deep. Easily. It doesn't have to be significant minutes. It could be just a few minutes just to give your starters a blow. Tibbs need to be mindful of that. The New York Knicks got a lot of questions to answer in the off season. You make a good point about Julius Randle. Being that they've gotten this far without him, there's a big question.
Hmm.
Do you go ahead and trade him?
I think he could coexist with Brunson, but we've seen this kind of this year and last year, even when those two, where Julius Randle thinks he's the alpha,
Mm-hmm.
at least the way I see it. But honestly, after seeing what we saw from Brunson, he's the one. And I
Mm-hmm.
think if there's going to be any contention, if they feel that,
Mm-hmm.
got to move Randall.
Mm-hmm. I think with the progression of the DiVincenzo, you have that with Brunson. They probably just need another big body. Hartenstein, I mean, he didn't score. He's an effort guy. He gets rebounds maybe here and there. But I think he'll improve during the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting to see what the Knicks do in the offseason here.
For sure.
And then he right on to the next game in where the Minnesota Timberwolves prevail against the defending champions, Denver Nuggets. Man, the Timberwolves win 3 games on the Denver Nuggets, the defending champions court. It seemed like in the first half, at halftime, that this was going to be a blowout. Timberwolves only scored 38 points by halftime
Mm-hmm.
versus that of 53 with the Nuggets. But then, oh boy, the things turn around, especially in the third quarter, and where, man, the defense ramped up and the Timberwolves they get it done against the reigning defending champions, man. And Ant didn't have the greatest games, but he showed that there are other ways to go ahead and win, other ways to go ahead and contribute. He only scored 16 points, but he had 8 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals. It's going to be an interesting conference finals, and I'm predicting it right here, right now, Danny. Timberwolves going to win this conference. They're going to win this series.
Mm-hmm.
That defense is, when they decide to turn it on, I think they're going to win. And it's going to be interesting to see what they do against Luka. I think Luka's going to get tired out. They got long bodies who are going to get in Luka's shorts. I think the Timberwolves are going to get this one. What say you, Danny, about this Timberwolves Nuggets game and series?
Jay, I almost turned it off in the third quarter. When Denver went up 20, it was 58-38. And I'm like, oh, man. But I hung around, and that's when T-Wolves went on that run in the third quarter. Conley hit some big shots. Karl Anthony Towns,
Mm-hmm.
the polarizing player that he is, he was huge in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Naz Reid
Mm-hmm.
had a big fourth quarter. It was, Josh McDaniels, who I think will be on Luka when they start the series. I could be wrong there, but he had a big game. It was an all-around effort. They had some key steals late in that game, and Anthony Edwards was all up on Jamal Murray. I was hoping, man, Saturday night that OKC would have pulled it out because I wanted to see OKC and Dallas go to a game 7, but that wasn't in the cards. So it was Dallas and Minnesota.
I'll tell you this, Danny. Interesting stat here. Looking at the box scores, I mean, Gordon and Porter just did not show up in Game 7. I don't know if it was just how things were flowing, because keep in mind, Jamal Murray was hot, especially in the first half. I mean, he ended up 35 points. Joker ends up with 34. But he ends up with 34 and 19 and 7. Come on, man. You kidding me? Talking about somebody who showed, man, he showed up. And he played all but 1 minute. Gordon, 4 points. Porter, 7 points.
They just couldn't get to a flow. I don't know. And usually they go off at home.
Mm-hmm.
So that was very surprising for them to come up short like they did.
But Gordon only shot 5 times.
Yeah, they just couldn't get, for whatever reason, they couldn't get into a flow. And they needed at least one of them to go off.
Yeah, exactly. So Like I said, Minnesota advances, man. Who you got in that series? Wolves, Mavs. Early prediction.
I'm going with the Wolves, Jason. I just think I agree with you on the defensive side of the ball. If they can keep this intensity up, I think they'll be in good shape. But as always, it's the key factor, Karl Anthony Towns, because they need
Mm-hmm.
him to play like he did last night
Mm-hmm.
and show up to have that other scorer, at least threat. I think they have the upper hand. I know the Mavs are actually favored in the series, which is wild, but well, you got Kyrie and they got Kyrie and Luca, and I guess that's what they're going off of. I don't,
Listen. The way
but
I look at
I
it,
think the team. I'm going with the T Wolves.
I'm going T Wolves, man. I'm looking at how long they are on the wings,
Mm-hmm.
the wing defenders.
And they can throw multiple bodies at
Yeah.
Kyrie and Luca.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. So I'm going Wolves. I don't know how many games yet, but I'm going Wolves on this one. I don't even think it's going to be a 7 game series, quite frankly.
Yeah, well, I will see because the T Wolves can have hit those lulls like they
Yeah.
did, and but if they have consistent scoring from Anthony Edwards and Anthony Towns and the supplemental players do their part, they should be okay.
Mm-hmm. Even about the Pacers Celtics series. I mean, I see the Celtics moving on, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same token, Porzingis, when is he going to play?
It doesn't look
The
good.
way Miles Turner's been playing, I mean, they need some kind of big out there. I mean, Horford, but come on, man, Horford up there in age.
Yep.
What they say, long in the tooth. So we'll see. And then right on into Formula One, where this past weekend, Formula One was in Italy. And so, no surprise, Max Verstappen wins again. But I think the gap is being closed here. And I'm starting to see the likes of McLaren really inch up there as competing against Red Bull.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly like the likes of Lando Norris, who ends up in second, and Ferrari, they do get on a podium in the home country. But this is interesting times when it comes to the dynamics of Formula One. Lewis Hamilton ultimately going to Ferrari next year. He had some comments about the state of Mercedes and where they're in no man's land, indicates that there basically are some upgrades coming,
Mm-hmm.
incremental upgrades. The season's going to be over by the time you put these upgrades in place.
Mm-hmm.
You try and get this money. You try and get the Constructors' Cup. You try and win some races.
Yeah.
I mean, Mercedes is just bewildered. So I don't know. McLaren has a Mercedes engine, but at the same token, Mercedes is just not doing anything. And I'm pretty certain that Sir Lewis Hamilton is over it, and he was ready to go to Ferrari. What say you, Danny, about Formula One?
It was nice, Jason, to see Verstappen get pushed because Norris was on him that whole end of that race. He was he was on him, and I was if you watch the race, a lot of the guys I thought there were going to be more crashes because you saw a lot of the guys going into the grass
Mm-hmm.
like and kind of weaving. I know Perez, he ended up in eighth. He had some issues early in the race, but it was just exciting, man. It wasn't like a huge gap. Norris was behind by less than a second on Verstappen. Mercedes did their thing, going 6 and 7 in the race. It's a lost cause. I agree with Sir Lewis Hamilton. You just can't keep coming in 6 and 7.
Mm-hmm.
On McLaren, they also took fourth place as well. And so that's them now leapfrogging Mercedes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to see the next race and see how Norris does. If he can push Verstappen and actually take another race, with him winning the race before, he's kind of got some confidence and he's driving that way. like you said,
Yeah.
Verstappen wins, but at least now someone at least is challenging him.
And now then he right on into Major League Baseball, where just want to talk real quickly about the Brewers and where they're actually leading in the division by 2 games against over the Cubs. Good start for the Brewers season. I think there probably was a couple of wins that they could have piled on, even on top of here, but they're starting off pretty good. 46 games into the season.
Mm-hmm.
They're leading in the division. Still got a long way to go. I think they're hungry,
Mm-hmm.
and they can actually hit. So we'll see what happens here. I think there's some opportunities at trade deadline that they can, if they want to go for it, they can. But I think they need to obviously sustain their positioning in the division. What say you, Danny, about these Milwaukee Brewers?
Yeah, their lineup is strong. The young guys are coming through, and I know they lost 2 out of 3 to the Astros this past weekend, but they're looking good. I think they need another arm or 2
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to bolster up the bullpen and starting pitching if they can, because these dudes are going to wear down, because this is new territory for a lot of these pitchers, because this is a lot of innings. If you haven't thrown this many innings and you're relied upon, I'm not saying they get dead arm, but they're going to get tired. And they actually play the Cubs next week, right after Memorial Day.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be a huge series for them. But their schedule is not that tough. Besides the Cubs, they have the Marlins coming up. They have the Red Sox, Cubs, and then the White Sox. So that's a stretch where they should hopefully pull some games out.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the ones you need to win, because down the line, when things get tough and these guys are, these younger guys, there's some pressure put on them. They have some wiggle room. That if they lose, say 5 in a row or something, it doesn't destroy them and knock them out of playoff contention. So far so good with the Brewers, man. They're exciting to watch. And like I said, I just think they just need to make a move or two on the pitching side to help them there. And I think they should be in good shape.
Thank you for joining us at Back Porch Talk Podcast. You can also join us on Twitter by tweeting us at @back_podcast. For more information, you can go to our website, which is backporchtalkpodcast.com. You can also email us at backporchtalkpodcast@gmail.com. Again, thank you for joining us, and remember that there's enough hate in the world, so go ahead and spread a little love.